Hey friends. So today what has showed up for me is something that it's one of these things that I think about I think pretty consistently, and you know I've had some experiences here and there that inform me, or I think I've turned a corner on it, but then they come up again. And I should just cut to the chase and tell you what I'm talking about before I go too much into this. But I was um, working with my daughter this morning on her violin practice, and there are these. It's like waxing and waning. It's like the moon phases of resistance that I feel from her as we do this. She's 5 years old. So I expect to hit a certain amount of resistance. It does not surprise me that, a 5-year-old doesn't just spontaneously want to do all the things on her practice list from her violin teacher. And so what that means is there's an equally sort of like complementary waxing and waning level of me kind of driving the process or feeling like I have to push, that is essentially in concert with whatever she's bringing. And when I say waxing and waning, I really do mean like it goes all the way from she's really excited to start. She dives into every exercise, every piece with enthusiasm, especially leading up to her book one recital, which was a big success for her. She was she would pick up her violin, we'd play 21 songs in a row, and she would just be laser focused the whole time. And then after that, we took a little break, and then we've had to get rolling again. But then it was the holidays, so it's been a little bit of a rocky road getting back to that. But the other day, she's saying she wants to practice every day again. She doesn't want to let days. She doesn't want us to skip days, which we did a little bit over the holidays. And so so there's that. But then in the actual moment of practicing, we've been building up to one of those points where she just kind of stonewalls. And I suppose I'm working with I have to continue to evaluate, what am I doing here? Why am I doing it? And what is the right thing to be doing here? What's ultimately the purpose of my, what role am I playing here? And where am I coming from? Where am I trying to go? Where am I trying to get her? Because this is all in service to her. And as I've talked about on my post many times, because I'm a musician and I have such an enthusiasm, it is so precious to me to be able to share music with my daughter. I have to keep my own desire for that to happen, and happen quickly, kind of in check. Because if I let that drive me, then that's clearly not serving her. So today, as she sort of clamped into some of the more, like we're kind of coming to a peak of her resistance level, and it often happens midway or towards the end of learning a new song, when she's just digested a bunch of new things and they're hard, and she it's kind of tiring. Everything feels tiring. The mistakes feel tiring. It's actually, I think, I've never really mapped this before. I think it would be good for me to map it so that I understand the process a little bit. I can kind of understand, here's how it often goes, or regularly goes, because this morning I got frustrated. I just got frustrated. I was like, this is insane. I shouldn't have to push this hard. And I think part of it was, it's been building. It's the end of break. We've had some long practice sessions, and she's made some really pretty fantastic progress. Her focus has been pretty scattered, and it's been a lot to try and get her to stay on task. But all things considered, she's actually done remarkably well. She's had a really great run. But I think I've felt like, sometimes you feel like you're pushing a boulder up a hill, and it's not that I mind doing it. It's not that I mind pushing, if that's the right thing to be doing. It's that I constantly question whether it's the right thing to be doing, and I'm sensitive to my effect on her. So I think I wanted to do a post on this, not because I have any fantastically conclusive answers to what to do or how to go about this, but I did want to recount for myself and for you, the way, because basically I got frustrated, and I sort of said, "Hun, this doesn't work this way. We have to, we've got to be able to stay on task more." And I kind of walked away from the piano, took a little break, and then came back and apologized for losing my temper, and she apologized for not listening, and we both kind of sat there in silence for a few minutes. And then I asked her if she wanted to try again, and she sort of half-heartedly said yes. So we started, and then she focused fantastically, and in 10 minutes or so we'd done. We got through the whole piece, and she made new progress. It was really kind of excellent. And then I took her ice skating, which is something she's been enthusiastic about for a while now. And we had our first lesson with a coach. She'd never had an ice skating lesson before, other than from me, who's not a skater. And after 30 minutes of working with this woman, Annalise was going off on her own and skating around the rink. She was not super stable, and I needed to be about 3 feet away at all times, so that in case she slipped, and which she did a number of times. A couple times she fell, and a couple times I was able to catch her. But something in that experience, and the juxtaposition of the experience, I've been taking her ice skating for weeks, months, probably nearly a year at this point. And having her be able to do it independently means that now I can go ice skating with her, and I can do my own thing. I'm not there yet. It's going to be several more sessions where she's got to get her balance. She's got to get a little more solid than she is now. But it's like I could see very quickly the light of doing, I could see the payoff of what we've done so far, because I can see that I'm going to get some freedom out of this. I'm going to get into a situation where we can go ice skating and I'll be able to work on my own skating, which is what I really need to do because I'm not a very good skater. And something about watching her so quickly become independent, and immediately she wanted to be independent. She didn't even want me nearby. She was kind of annoyed that I would catch her when she fell. I was like, sweetie, the last thing I need is you to crash down onto the ice. And she did sort of reach for me as she was falling. But there was such a strong impulse to do this on her own. And I was like, that's where this is ultimately going in music as well. That's what I'm trying to extend to her. I'm trying to give her the ability to take ownership of what she's doing. And violin is more complicated than ice skating. It just is. It takes a longer time to get to where you can kind of independently negotiate your own learning in something that's as complex as that. And it was really nice to have those two models kind of right next to each other, because it just reminded me what I'm really doing. Reminded me that the role I'm playing, and it reminded me to relax. Reminded me to frustration in music is nearly useless. It's essentially useless. There's very little about the motivating power of frustration that actually pays off in terms of benefit to musical practice. Basically just gets in the way. Rigorousness is helpful. Endurance is helpful. Laser focus is helpful. Being willing to really stick it out and be just hyper vigilant is helpful. And a lot of times the personalities that have those traits also can tip into frustration. But the frustration part of the coin is not helpful. And so if I can sort of come from a place of knowing that what I'm really giving is independence, that's what I'm trying to bestow. When she can manage her own learning, then I can be free of it. Then my job is done. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, it's so much more important never to inject frustration into the process than it is to make any kind of progress. And that's something I need to be reminded of. You know, that's something, it's been a discipline for me to learn that in my own musical learning. So no surprise, that's what's showing up for me as the thing that I need to kind of reckon with now that I'm in the parental role here. But it is so much more important to be in joy and play than it is to get things right. Or even, I think, you know, because it wasn't that I was getting frustrated with not getting things right. I was getting frustrated with an unwillingness to engage in the process. And that's where I think I need to just breathe and remember what energy am I bringing? What energy am I actually bringing into the room? What is it I'm bestowing? And give myself a break. give myself a chance to breathe. But it was a powerful lesson today. It was a powerful lesson, and it was all the more remarkable for the way that we almost immediately came back together and hugged and both realized, oh, I didn't really want to have that effect on you. I'm really sorry. And then moved on, and practice session continued, and things, went quite well. But it doesn't mean that it's not still reverberating in me, or in her probably too, but it's just, it feels like it's taking me one step further and deeper into what this is really all about. So that's where I am today, people. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.